After I paid for my wife's med school for 4 years, she served me divorce papers at her graduation party, saying, "You are not on my level, date someone like-minded." So I did. Now she won't stop begging. Sup Reddit. So I worked 60-hour weeks to put my wife through dental school. At her graduation party, she handed me divorce papers and told me to date someone like-minded. Funny how things work out when you stop being agreeable. I, 29 male, started dating my wife Lauren, 28 female, in college. Chemistry major meets pre-dental student at some random house party. Hit it off immediately. She was driven, smart, had this infectious energy about chasing her dream of becoming a dentist. I respected that. Loved it, actually. We got married junior year because we were young and stupid in love and it felt right. Those first couple years were solid. Late-night study sessions that turned into breakfast runs. Weekend road trips when we could afford the gas. The usual young couple stuff. Then dental school happened, and the person I married slowly disappeared into textbooks and 18-hour study marathons. But I figured that's what you sign up for. I switched from teaching to supply chain analysis because it paid better and had more stability. Someone had to cover rent, tuition, textbooks, groceries, car payments, insurance, and everything else that came with getting a dental degree. 60-hour weeks became normal. My hobbies went into storage. My own career ambitions got shelved. 6 years of that. The graduation party was on a Saturday in June. This was the big celebration her parents threw at their country club. Open bar, catered food, probably 200 people including her entire dental school class, their families. She pulled me aside, led me out to the garden area where it was quieter, said she needed to talk. I figured she wanted to do some kind of thank you speech, maybe get emotional about how we'd made it through together. Instead, she handed me a manila envelope. I opened it right there under the decorative lights her parents had strung up. Divorce papers. Everything filled out. Assets divided. She'd claimed the car, the furniture, even laid out a payment plan for me to buy out my half of the joint account. It was thorough. Professional. Probably had a lawyer draft it weeks ago. You're serious right now? At your graduation party? It's the perfect time, actually. Clean break. New chapter. I'm starting my practice in 2 months, and I need to focus completely on my career. You've been useful, I'll give you that. But I don't need a husband anymore. I need to dedicate everything to dentistry without distractions. Useful. 6 years of my life reduced to being useful. So what was I? Some kind of live-in scholarship fund? She waved her hand dismissively. Don't be dramatic. You knew what this was. I was always transparent about my priorities. Dental school first? Always. Now I'm a dentist and I need to start fresh. Alone. You can find someone who actually has time for the whole relationship thing. I never did. Her friends were watching through the windows. A few were smirking. They definitely knew this was coming. Meanwhile, my buddy Nolan was at the bar with this horrified expression, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. You planned this. Of course I planned it. I'm not an idiot. This way it's efficient. Sign the papers, we're both free to move forward. I'll be working 80-hour weeks anyway. You can go do whatever you want now. Date someone like-minded who isn't building a career. Win-win. She kept glancing back at the party, checking her phone. She wanted this conversation done so she could get back to celebrating. This was an inconvenient errand to her. That's when it really hit me. I'm not signing this. Her expression shifted. The condescending patience cracked. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm not signing anything. You want a divorce? We're doing this the real way. With lawyers, with full financial discovery, the entire legal process. That's ridiculous. I laid everything out fairly. You're getting exactly what you're entitled to. My share of what exactly? The apartment I've been paying rent on for 2 years while you studied? The car I put the down payment on 3 years ago? The furniture I bought before you even started dental school? She crossed her arms, irritation bleeding through. Half of everything acquired during the marriage. That's what the law says. Stop acting like you're getting screwed here. Great. Then we'll let lawyers figure out what everything includes. All of it. Every asset. Every account. Every dollar that moved during our marriage. Her jaw set. She wasn't used to me saying no to her. 6 years of being agreeable and supportive had made her think I'd just accept whatever she decided. You're being difficult for literally no reason. Just sign the papers and we both move on like adults. No. Fine. Have it your way. But this doesn't change anything. I'm done with this marriage, whether you make it easy or turn it into a circus. Your choice. She turned and walked back toward the party. I stood there holding the envelope, watching her rejoin her dental school friends. They were laughing about something, probably about how the soon-to-be ex-husband was being difficult about signing away 6 years. She came by the apartment the next afternoon to pick up some of her things. Showed up without calling first, probably expecting me to be out or too shell-shocked to deal with her. Instead, I was sitting at the kitchen table going through bank statements. I need to get some clothes and my textbooks. I'm going to stay here for a few more days, then I'll figure out where I'm going. I laughed. Actually laughed right in her face. What's so funny? You think you're staying here. That's hilarious. I just need a few days to sort things out. Not happening. Pack your stuff and get out. She walked past me into the bedroom. I kept my eyes on the laptop screen. 6 years of financial records pulled up in spreadsheet form. Rent payments. Tuition transfers. Every dollar I tracked because I actually paid attention to where our money went. 10 minutes later, she came back out with 2 suitcases. Look, I'll be out of your way. You won't even know I'm here. Actually, the lease is in my name. Has been since we moved in here 2 years ago. She stopped. What are you talking about? Exactly what I said. You never signed the lease. I've been the sole tenant for 2 years. You were just living here. That's ridiculous. This is our apartment. Check the lease if you don't believe me. Landlord has my name only. My bank account only. You never contributed to rent, so you were never added. Her face twisted. So what? You're just going to kick me out? Real mature. You're the one who said you were done. You handed me divorce papers and said you didn't need a husband. So yeah, you're out. You can't be serious right now. Dead serious. You left. You moved out when you said this marriage was over. That's how it works. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You're pathetic. This is exactly why I'm leaving. You can't even handle a simple conversation without being dramatic. I'm dramatic. You announced our divorce at a party and spent the whole night texting someone else. But sure, I'm the problem. Whatever. I'll just come back whenever I want. You can't stop me. Actually, I can. You don't live here anymore. If you want to come back for your things, you schedule it. 24 hours notice. That's what the law says. The law? Are you kidding me right now? Not even a little bit. You want to lawyer up and file for divorce? Fine. But you're playing by actual rules now, not just whatever you feel like doing. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're being completely unreasonable. No, I'm being clear. You made your choice yesterday. Now you deal with it. Call before you come back, or don't come back at all. This is insane. Where am I supposed to go? Not my problem anymore. You're the one who wanted to be done. Figure it out. She stood there with her suitcases, face red. Fine. I'll go to my friend's place until I find an apartment near the clinic. But this isn't over. Great. See you never. She walked out and slammed the door. I waited until I heard her car pull away, then went back to the bedroom. Her laptop was still sitting on the dresser, the one she'd been using for school stuff. She'd probably meant to grab it, but forgot in her hurry to make a dramatic exit. The laptop was still logged in. We'd shared passwords for years because that's what married people did. She'd never bothered changing hers. I opened it up, and the first thing I saw was her Messages app already open on the screen. The most recent conversation was with someone named Camden, a colleague from her dental school class based on the profile picture. And the messages went back 6 months. 6 months of good morning texts, late-night conversations about difficult patients, study session meetups that apparently involved more than studying, plans for after graduation, discussions about which practices they'd try to join together. And then, from 3 weeks ago, a message that made my stomach drop. Can't wait to finally be done with this. Once I'm officially divorced, we can stop sneaking around. I'm ready to start our life together. I scrolled through more messages, found photos, timestamps, detailed plans about how she'd handle the divorce announcement, how she'd keep it simple and quick so she could move on without drama, how she figured I'd just accept it and sign because I'd always been so agreeable. Then I found something else. Screenshots of bank statements she'd sent to Camden, accounts I didn't recognize, deposits from her parents, regular transfers of $2,000 every month for the past 15 months. Money I never knew about because she'd told me her parents weren't helping financially, that they wanted her to be independent. That's why I'd been covering everything. Except that was a lie. Her parents had been funding her the whole time, and instead of using it for tuition or expenses like they probably intended, she'd been stashing it away, building her own savings account while I paid rent, utilities, groceries, and her student loans. There were messages between her and Camden talking about it. Almost at $30,000 now. Plus what you've got saved, we can get a really nice place. You're playing this perfectly. He has no idea you even have that money. I know. He thinks my parents cut me off years ago. Meanwhile, I'm just stacking it while he covers everything. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures of everything. Screenshots of messages. Photos of the bank statements showing her parents' deposits. The conversations with Camden about using the money for their future together. Then I called the lawyer I'd consulted that morning. Left a message saying I needed an emergency appointment, that I'd found evidence of infidelity and hidden assets, that this divorce was about to get a lot more complicated than my wife had planned. 2 weeks after Lauren moved out, my lawyer sent her lawyer the initial discovery request. Full financial disclosure. Bank statements from all accounts. Investment records. Credit card transactions. Everything. Plus notice that we had evidence of infidelity and were prepared to contest the divorce terms she'd proposed. Her response came within 24 hours. A panicked phone call from a number I didn't recognize. She'd ignored her lawyer's advice and called me directly. You're actually doing this? Fighting the divorce? I'm making sure it's fair. That's what you wanted, right? Everything divided fairly? You know what I meant. Just take your half and let's be done with this. My half of what? The assets you declared? Or my half of everything, including the accounts you've been hiding? Silence on the other end. She hadn't expected me to find those. Then her voice came back, harder this time. I don't know what you think you found, but you're wasting your time and money on lawyer fees. Just accept reality and move on. I hung up on her. 3 days later, someone knocked on my apartment door around 7 in the evening. I checked the peephole and saw a woman I vaguely recognized. One of my wife's friends from dental school. Not someone I knew well, but I'd seen her at a few parties. She had my address from old holiday card lists my wife kept. I opened the door. Can I help you? Hi, I need to return something your wife left in my car. Can I come in for a minute? Slovenian accent. Thick enough that some words came out clipped. I remembered now, she'd been an exchange student, Melanie. My wife had mentioned her a few times, but they'd never seemed that close. I can grab it at the door. It's kind of heavy, just take a second. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She was dressed like she'd come from somewhere nice. Tight dress, heels, too much perfume. No box, no bag, nothing in her hands. She sat on my couch and crossed her legs in a way that seemed deliberately posed. So what did you need to return? Oh, I forget it in the car. But I want to talk to you. I feel bad about what she did. You were good husband. Very loyal. She should not treat you this way. Okay. Thanks for saying that, I guess. She leaned forward. The dress shifted in a way that definitely wasn't accidental. Started with the sympathy angle. You must be so lonely. Must be hard when someone betrays you like this. Then moved to flattery. I looked handsome. Strong. My wife was stupid to leave a man like me. I took a step back. I'm doing fine, actually. Working through the legal stuff. But you are here all by yourself. No one to make you feel better. She patted the couch next to her. We can be friends, yes? Help each other. Yeah, no. This was way too obvious. I'd been married for 6 years, not living under a rock. I knew what a setup looked like. I think you should probably go. She stood up and moved closer. Suddenly swayed on her heels like she might fall, reaching out to grab my arm. I sidestepped. She stumbled forward anyway, trying to lean into me. Oh, I feel dizzy. Can you help me? You can sit down yourself. I'll get you some water. I went to the kitchen, keeping her in my line of sight the whole time. She lowered herself onto the couch in slow motion, arranged like she was posing for a furniture catalog. Her phone was sitting on the coffee table. Screen down. Red notification light blinking like a heartbeat. When I came back with the water, she was looking up at me with what I'm sure she thought was a seductive expression. I've seen more convincing acting in a phone commercial. Thank you. You are very the gentleman. I set the water on the coffee table and stayed standing. Drink up. Then I really need you to leave. She took the glass but didn't drink. Just held it. Tried one more move. One more. Stood up and stepped into my space, way too close, like she was going for a hug. Are you sure you want me to leave? We could watch movie. Have nice evening together. I put my hand up, keeping distance between us. I'm very sure. She looked frustrated now. The act was slipping. Your wife will never know. It can be our secret. And there it was. The whole point of this ridiculous performance. Actually, my wife would know. Because you'd tell her. That's why you're here, isn't it? To create evidence of me cheating so she can use it in the divorce. Her face went blank for half a second. Then she tried to recover. No, you misunderstand. I'm just trying to be... To be what? A good friend? Is that phone on the coffee table recording right now? She glanced at it. Quick. Automatic. Caught. Then she lunged for it. I was faster. Picked it up before her hand reached the table. Want me to check if this is recording? No, give it back! She tried to grab it from my hand. She say if you touch me, you lose house, okay? But you don't touch me, so give phone back. The words tumbled out in her panic. Then her eyes went wide like she'd just realized what came out of her mouth. To me or to her? She stood up quickly. Too quickly for someone who'd been dizzy 2 minutes ago. I think maybe I should go now. Yeah, that's probably smart. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door, then paused and turned back. You know what? You are not as dumb as she think you are. Thanks. That might be the nicest thing anyone said to me all week. She left without another word. I closed the door, locked it, and checked my Ring doorbell footage. Got her arrival on camera. Timestamp. Her walking up alone in that dress and heels at 7 p.m. Her leaving 20 minutes later looking annoyed instead of dizzy. The footage didn't capture what happened inside, but it showed intent. Showed she came here for a reason that had nothing to do with returning something my wife left in her car. I called my lawyer and sent him the footage. Added it to the growing file of evidence showing my wife was willing to do whatever it took to win this divorce, including sending her friend to try to trap me into giving her ammunition. The seduction attempt was pathetic, but it told me everything I needed to know. She was scared. The discovery process was closing in on her hidden assets. The infidelity evidence had her backed into a corner, and she was desperate enough to try something this obvious and stupid, which meant I was winning. The next afternoon, I got a text from another number I didn't recognize. This is Claire. We need to talk. It's about what happened last night. Claire. I knew that name. She was the third person in my wife's usual friend group, the one who'd always seemed normal compared to the others. We'd actually gotten along at parties, had real conversations. She worked in hospital administration, not dentistry. Always seemed more grounded than the dental school crowd. Who gave you my number? I got it from your wife's phone when she wasn't looking. I know that sounds bad, but you need to hear what I have to say. Can we meet somewhere? I suggested a coffee shop near my office. Neutral territory. Public enough to be safe. She agreed immediately. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, looking nervous. Not the kind of nervous someone trying to set you up looks. The kind of nervous someone about to betray their friend looks. I sat down across from her. So, what's this about? I need to tell you what's really going on. What they're planning. I can't be part of this anymore. It's wrong. She pulled out her phone and started scrolling. Last night, after Melanie tried to seduce you, she came back to your wife's parents' house. They were all there. Your wife, Melanie, a few others, celebrating how they thought it worked. It didn't work. I know. Melanie told them you rejected her completely. Kept your distance the whole time. Wouldn't even touch her when she faked being dizzy. Your wife was furious. She'd been so sure you'd take the bait. Claire turned her phone to show me screenshots, group chat messages, voice memos, a whole conspiracy laid out in digital evidence. They've been planning this for weeks. Melanie volunteered to try to seduce you. They figured if they could get even one compromising photo, your wife could use it to make you look bad in the divorce. Claim you'd been cheating too. Why are you telling me this? She looked down at her coffee. Because I've watched your wife treat you like garbage for years. I've seen how hard you work to support her. And this whole thing with Camden, the hiding money, now trying to frame you? It's too much. I can't pretend I don't see what's happening. You knew about Camden. Everyone knew. They all thought it was great that she'd found someone ambitious who understood her career. They kept telling her you were holding her back, that she deserved someone on her level. The coffee in my cup suddenly tasted bitter. I told her it was wrong, Claire continued, that you didn't deserve this, that she should just be honest about wanting a divorce instead of making you the villain. But she kept saying you'd try to take everything if she didn't control the narrative. So she decided to create a narrative where I'm the bad guy. Exactly. And I'm done watching it happen. I have evidence. Text messages where they're planning the whole thing. Voice memos where your wife is coaching Melanie on how to seduce you. Bank statements your wife sent to the group showing the accounts she's been hiding. All of it. She slid a flash drive across the table. Everything's on here. Dates, times, participants. Enough to prove she's been deliberately trying to sabotage you in this divorce. I picked up the flash drive. It felt heavier than it should have. Why now? Why not earlier? Because I didn't realize how far she'd take it until Melanie came back bragging about her attempt. They were laughing about it, making jokes about how you probably haven't been with anyone else in years, so you'd be easy to manipulate. It made me sick. She met my eyes. Your wife has become someone I don't recognize. Someone I don't want to be friends with anymore. And you deserve to know the truth about what you're fighting against. She's going to know you gave me this. I know. I'm prepared for that. I'd rather lose a friend than watch someone destroy a decent person for no reason other than convenience. I thanked her and left. Took the flash drive straight to my lawyer's office. He loaded it up and we spent 2 hours going through everything. The conspiracy to frame me. The group chat messages celebrating my wife's affair. The bank documents proving she'd hidden money specifically to keep it from being divided in the divorce. This changes everything, my lawyer said. With this evidence, we can prove fraud, infidelity, and attempted evidence tampering. She's not just going to lose the upper hand in this divorce. She's going to lose badly. He paused while scrolling through more messages. There's something else here you should see. Messages between your wife and Camden from about 3 months ago. She's telling him about your medical history, specifics that she shouldn't have access to anymore. When did you last authorize her to view your records? Years ago, back when we were still pretending the marriage worked. There's something else here. She told Camden about a prescription you filled last month. Not your whole medical record, just a controlled substance lookup. She's registered on the state PDMP through her dental license, and she searched your name to see if you were on anything that could look bad in court. You weren't her patient. That's illegal PDMP misuse and a HIPAA-level privacy violation. That evening, Claire texted me again. She knows. I told her I gave you the evidence. She's threatening to sue me, ruin my reputation, get me fired. Typical. I'm sorry you're dealing with that. Don't be. I made my choice. Some things are more important than keeping fake friends happy. 3 days later, my lawyer filed an amended response to the divorce petition. Included evidence of the affair, evidence of hidden assets, evidence of attempted fraud and conspiracy to create false evidence. The whole thing. My wife's lawyer called for an emergency meeting, said his client wanted to settle, that we could work something out without going to trial. My lawyer's response was simple. Your client had a chance to be honest from the start. She chose fraud and conspiracy instead. We'll see her in court. The discovery process turned into a nightmare for her. Every account she'd tried to hide had to be disclosed. Every dollar she'd moved around had to be explained. Every lie she'd told about what was marital property came apart under legal scrutiny. Camden, her affair partner, suddenly wanted nothing to do with the situation. His text from Discovery told the story. She even posted screenshots of his messages on social media. When my wife told him about the divorce getting complicated, he'd responded with, "This is exactly why I don't do drama." When she asked him to testify about their relationship timeline, he wrote back, "I'm not getting involved in your legal issues. I thought you had this handled." The final message before he blocked her was the best part. "Look, I thought you were going to be a successful dentist with her life together. This whole fraud and conspiracy thing isn't what I signed up for. I need to focus on my career. Good luck with everything." Guy saw a dentist's wife as an accessory. When the accessory came with legal baggage, he bounced. My wife had thrown away 6 years of marriage for someone who couldn't handle 6 months of inconvenience. The comment section tore her apart. People she went to dental school with started chiming in. Someone posted screenshots of her own messages to Camden where she'd called me useless and talked about how much money she'd hidden. Another person shared the court documents showing the fraud charges. Within a week, her entire online presence imploded. Meanwhile, Claire and I started talking more. Not about the divorce at first, just normal conversations. She'd tell me about her terrible day at work. I'd share stories about my increasingly ridiculous legal battles. It was easy, comfortable, nothing forced or calculated. "I keep thinking about how you stayed calm through all of this," she said one evening over dinner. We'd started meeting up regularly. Friend stuff, support during a difficult time. Giving her the anger she expected wasn't going to help me. Documentation and lawyers help me. That's very mature of you. Or very calculated. I'm honestly not sure which. She laughed. It was a good sound. Real. Nothing like the fake laughter I'd gotten used to over 6 years. We weren't dating. Not technically. But something was developing. Something that felt natural instead of forced. The divorce took 6 months to finalize. 6 months of depositions, document reviews, and increasingly desperate settlement offers from my wife's lawyer. Every offer I refused. Every attempt at negotiation I turned down. She'd wanted to do this through lawyers and courts. So that's exactly what we were doing. The judge was not impressed with her behavior, the hidden assets, the affair that started during the marriage, the attempted setup with Melanie, the conspiracy to create false evidence. All of it laid out in official court documents with Claire's testimony, providing the final nail. When the judgment came down, it was better than my lawyer had predicted. I got the apartment, the car, 60% of the joint assets because the judge ruled her hidden accounts were marital property she'd attempted to conceal. Plus, I was awarded a significant portion of the money she'd diverted into those secret accounts over the years. She sat in that courtroom looking like someone had physically hit her. Her lawyer kept whispering to her, probably telling her this was the best she could do at this point. That fighting further would only make things worse. Camden had stopped showing up to court appearances 3 months in. Probably decided a woman willing to commit fraud in divorce proceedings wasn't worth the drama. My wife had texted him hundreds of times based on what came out in Discovery. He'd blocked her on everything, even changed his phone number. After the final hearing, I walked out of that courthouse feeling lighter than I had in years. Not because I'd won money or assets, but because I was finally, legally, completely free of someone who treated me like an ATM with a pulse. Claire was waiting outside. She'd taken the afternoon off to be there for moral support. Not as a witness this time, just as someone who cared about how things turned out. How'd it go? It's over. Finally over. She hugged me right there on the courthouse steps. Nothing romantic, just genuine happiness that I'd made it through. We got dinner that night. Made plans for a weekend hiking trip she'd been suggesting. Agreed to check out that new art exhibit she'd been wanting to see. So what now? She asked over dessert. Now I figure out who I am outside of that marriage. Build a life that's actually mine. Sounds like a good plan. You want to be part of it? The building part, I mean. She smiled. The kind of smile that made everything clear without words. Yeah, I think I'd like that. We took it slow. Neither of us was in a hurry. 3 months after the divorce finalized, we made it official. Started actually dating. 6 months after that, she moved into my apartment, the place my ex-wife had claimed she deserved. It felt right having Claire there. My ex-wife, meanwhile, was dealing with consequences she'd never anticipated. The dental clinic where she'd started her practice launched an investigation after someone anonymously reported a HIPAA violation. Turned out she'd been accessing my medical records throughout the divorce, using patient systems to gather information she thought might help her case. Using patient records for personal reasons wasn't just unethical, it was illegal. The clinic suspended her, started formal proceedings, she lost her associate position, got put on probation. The dental community was small. Word spread. Her reputation took a hit she'd probably never recover from. The irony was perfect. She'd spent 6 years working toward a dental career, then torpedoed it by violating the most basic ethical rules of the profession. All because she couldn't accept that I'd moved on. Camden had moved to a different clinic. Different city, different life. Probably telling some new woman about his drama-free existence while carefully editing out the part where he'd helped destroy someone's marriage. My ex had called me once during this period, 6 months after the divorce finalized. I'd unblocked her number by then because I genuinely didn't care anymore. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. Everything's falling apart. I need help. That's unfortunate. Good luck with everything. I hung up, blocked the number again, moved on with my day. Claire asked who it was. I told her. She nodded and changed the subject to dinner plans. That's when I knew I'd truly moved past it all. My ex-wife's problems weren't mine anymore. Her crisis didn't create obligation. Her regret didn't create opportunity for reconciliation. She was just someone I used to know who'd made bad choices. A year after the divorce, I proposed to Claire. Nothing fancy. Just the two of us on a weekend hiking trip. The same trail where we'd first hung out as friends during the worst of the legal battle. She said yes before I finished asking. We planned the wedding for 8 months out. Small ceremony. Close friends and family. The people who'd actually supported us, instead of pretending to care while plotting behind our backs. My ex-wife had lost most of her friend group. Claire leaving had started a chain reaction. Other people realized they didn't want to be associated with someone who'd committed fraud, cheated, and violated patient privacy. The dental school crowd scattered. Melanie had apparently moved back to Slovenia. Something about visa issues. Definitely nothing to do with her attempting to help frame someone in divorce proceedings. The wedding planning was easy. Claire knew what she wanted. I knew what I didn't want. We compromised on everything that mattered and didn't sweat the details that didn't. The wedding day went smoothly. Claire looked incredible. The venue was exactly what we'd wanted. Our families were happy. Friends were celebrating with genuine joy instead of obligatory attendance. I was standing at the front with my best man, watching guests file in and take their seats. Claire's sister, the maid of honor, was helping seat people. The coordinator was checking last-minute details. Everything running smoothly. Then I saw her, my ex-wife, walking up the path from the parking lot, wearing what looked like a cocktail dress she'd probably thrown on in her car. Hair not quite right. Makeup done, but not done well. She looked like someone who'd gotten ready in a hurry and regretted it halfway through. I caught the coordinator's eye and nodded toward the parking lot. She followed my gaze, saw what I saw, and immediately headed in that direction. The security guys I'd hired noticed the movement and fell into step behind her. Meanwhile, guests kept arriving, taking their seats, chatting with neighbors, completely unaware that drama was approaching from the west entrance. The coordinator reached my ex-wife before she made it to the ceremony area. I couldn't hear the conversation from where I stood, but I could see the body language. Coordinator standing firm, security flanking, my ex-wife gesturing dramatically. Then she pushed past them, just straight up ignored the coordinator and walked around the security guys like they were invisible. headed straight for the aisle between the chairs. Guests were starting to notice. Conversations dying down. People turning to look. She made it about 6 steps before the security guys caught up. Each took an arm. Not rough, but definitely firm. She tried to pull away. That's when her heel caught on the edge of the aisle runner. She went down hard, hands and knees. The cocktail dress rode up in a way that was more tragic than dramatic. Her purse spilled across the aisle. Lipstick, tissues, phone, everything scattering. For about 3 seconds, the entire venue was silent. Everyone just staring at this woman on her hands and knees in the middle of the aisle. Then she started crying. Not quiet, dignified tears. Full-on sobbing. Makeup running. Nose running. The kind of crying that makes your whole face turn red and blotchy. "Wait!" she called out, still on her knees. "You can't do this. We're supposed to be together. This is wrong. Everything is wrong." I just stood there. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched this person I used to know have a complete meltdown at my wedding. Claire's sister whispered from beside me. "Want me to handle this?" Security's got it. The security guys were trying to help her up. She kept pulling away, making it harder for everyone. Guests were recording on their phones now. This was going to be on social media within the hour. "I'm a dentist," she shouted at no one in particular. "You can't treat me like this. I have a right to be here. To explain. To make him understand." The venue coordinator, God bless her, walked calmly over and said in a voice that carried across the garden, "Ma'am, this isn't your practice. You can't just walk in here uninvited." A few people laughed, couldn't help themselves. The line was too perfect. My ex-wife finally let the security guys help her up. She was still crying. Mascara streaked down her face, hair falling out of whatever style she'd attempted. She looked directly at me. "I made a mistake. I lost everything. My career, my friends, everything. You were the only good thing I had, and I threw it away. Please, just give me 5 minutes to explain." "No." That's all I said. Just no. Not angry. Not emotional. Just a simple refusal to engage. "You have to listen to me. You loved me. I know you loved me. That doesn't just go away." Claire appeared from behind me, walked down the aisle in her wedding dress, stopped about 6 feet from my ex-wife, didn't say anything, just stood there looking absolutely perfect and completely unbothered. My ex-wife's face crumpled. The reality of what she was witnessing seemed to hit her all at once. This wasn't some dramatic movie scene where the groom realizes his mistake and runs back to his true love. This was a woman watching the life she could have had if she hadn't nuked everything. "Her?" my ex-wife said, looking at Claire. "You chose her? She was my friend. How could you both do this to me?" Claire's voice was calm, almost kind. "You did this to yourself. We gave you multiple chances to do the right thing. You chose fraud, lies, and betrayal every single time. I was scared, overwhelmed. I made mistakes. You made choices," I said. "And this is where those choices led you. Security, please escort her out." The security guys started walking her back down the aisle. She was still crying, still trying to pull away, still calling my name. Guests were silent now, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. As they reached the edge of the ceremony area, one of my groomsmen, Nolan from way back, loud whispered to the guy next to him. "Man, he really dodged a bullet there." More laughter from guests who heard. My ex-wife heard it too, turned to glare at Nolan, which made her trip again. Caught herself this time, but it looked equally ridiculous. The security guys got her to the parking lot. The coordinator followed to make sure she actually left. Claire walked back to where she'd been waiting to make her entrance. Gave me a small smile that said everything was fine. Best wedding gift I could have asked for. My ex-wife showed up just long enough to prove I'd made the right choice twice. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true. After I paid $1,800 to fix her car, she texted, "I only see you as a friend." I said, "Okay." Then I demanded my money back and watched her lose her mind. Sup, Reddit. You ever spend $1,845 fixing a girl's car because she called you crying at 5 in the morning? No? Just me? Cool. Because I did that. Drove across Fargo in the dark, swiped my entire tool upgrade fund at a mechanic shop, and walked out grinning like I'd just closed some kind of deal. 1 hour later, she texted me, "Let's just be friends." I hadn't even left the parking lot. Let me back up. I'm Paul, 28M, and I work as a field service technician for a logistics company that installs and maintains automated warehouse systems, conveyors, barcode scanners, PLC controls, the whole nine. I drive a company truck loaded with tools, and I'm on call every other week, so my phone going off at weird hours isn't unusual. When it buzzed at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday morning in late October, I didn't even flinch, just grabbed it off the nightstand and squinted at the screen. It was Fiona, and she was losing it. Between the crying and the hyperventilating, I got the gist. Her 2016 Volkswagen Jetta, the manual transmission she was so proud of because nobody drives stick anymore, had died in her apartment parking lot. She'd gone out to warm it up for an early errand, and the clutch pedal went straight to the floor. No resistance, no engagement, just dead. And she had a job interview the next morning in Minneapolis, an in-person final round at some hospitality management company she'd been chasing for months. The kind of interview you don't reschedule, nobody's paying your gas to get there, and if you no-show, they move on to the next person without blinking. She was panicking, full meltdown, and when Fiona panicked, she called me. That was the arrangement, apparently. Before I tell you what happened next, you need the context, because without the 6 months leading up to this call, I just sound like an idiot with a debit card. Which, fair, I kind of was. I met Fiona at a housewarming party in April. She was 25, worked as an office coordinator at a property management company, and she had this way of making you feel like the only person in the room. When I told her I worked on automated warehouse systems, she didn't do the usual polite nod and subject change. She asked what the coolest malfunction I'd ever diagnosed was. I told her about the time a rogue barcode scanner was sending phantom reads that crashed an entire sortation line, and she laughed and said, "So you're basically a robot doctor." I was done for. That was it. We started texting that same night. By the end of the first week, we were talking every day. Good morning texts that turned into running conversations that didn't stop until one of us fell asleep. It felt real. It felt like it was headed somewhere obvious. The hanging out started casual, group stuff first, then one-on-one things that felt exactly like dates, but nobody ever called them that. She'd hug me goodbye and hold it a beat too long. Every signal you could possibly read as interest she was sending. All green lights. All the time. Then the favors crept in. Started small. Her bathroom faucet was dripping. Could I take a look? Took me 20 minutes. She stood in the doorway the whole time asking me questions about my job, laughing at my stories, handing me paper towels when I needed them. When I finished, she put her hand on my arm and said, "Seriously, what would I do without you?" That felt like something. That felt like progress. Then it was furniture. Twice. Then an entire Saturday mounting a TV, assembling a bookshelf, and programming her thermostat, because she said the apartment was impossible to figure out. I drove to her place on a Sunday morning in August and changed her oil in the parking lot while she watched from her window. She came down when I was done, brought me a glass of water, and told me I was such a good guy. Every single favor came with a compliment chaser. "You're so good at this. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're literally the only person I trust with this stuff." And I ate it up every single time. But every time I tried to move things forward, she'd slide sideways. Not reject. Redirect. "I love hanging out with you. Let's not overthink it." Or, "I just got out of something and I'm not ready to label anything." Or the all-time classic, "Why can't I find a guy like you, Paul?" Like me. Not me. 5 months in. I'd had a brutal day. 11 hours on my feet troubleshooting a faulty servo drive in a warehouse that was about 40 degrees. I texted Fiona around 9 p.m. "Rough one today. You free to grab food? Could use some company." She replied, "Aw, that sucks. I'm actually heading out with some girlfriends tonight. Rain check?" No rain check ever came. But 3 days later, when her kitchen faucet started dripping at midnight, guess whose phone rang? I once added up the money I'd spent on Fiona in a notes app. Before the clutch job, I was already in for over $600. Gas, parts, food I'd brought over, a set of wiper blades I'd replaced without being asked. She'd never bought me so much as a cup of coffee. My buddy Joe, who works on the same field service team, had been watching this play out for months. One night after a long shift, sitting in his truck splitting a gas station burrito, he looked at me and said, "Brother, you're not her boyfriend. You're her IT department with feelings." I didn't have an answer for that. Changed the subject, but I thought about what he said for a long time. So, the call, 5 a.m., October. I was already pulling on my boots before she finished explaining. Told her to get the car towed to Knutson's. I'd meet them there. Got there at 6:45, talked to Gary, the owner, before anyone else showed up. Told him it was urgent, needed a same-day turnaround if possible. Gary looked at the Jetta for about 15 minutes, came back, and confirmed what I already suspected. Clutch assembly was gone. Pressure plate, disc, throw-out bearing, the whole package. On a 2016 Jetta with a manual trans, parts and labor, he quoted me $1,845. Here's where I wasn't a complete idiot. Before I handed over my card, I texted Fiona, Gary says full clutch replacement, $1,845 parts and labor. I can cover it up front, but I need you to pay me back. We can figure out a plan. You good with that? Her reply came in under 30 seconds. Yes, absolutely. I will pay you back every cent, I promise. You are saving my life right now, Paul. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I screenshotted that. Then I handed Gary my card and authorized the full amount. The charge hit my bank at 7:23 a.m. Told Fiona the car would be ready by 3 p.m. and she'd have plenty of time for the drive to Minneapolis. Her response, I literally cannot believe you. You are the most amazing person I have ever met. I don't deserve you. I sat in my truck in Knutson's parking lot with the heat blasting, October in Fargo already bitter enough to see your breath, and I felt like the man. I'd been saving that tool fund for 8 months. I'd known Fiona for 6. Both accounts just went to zero in the same morning, but it didn't matter. This was the moment. She was going to see me differently after this. I was sure of it. At 8:31 a.m., 68 minutes after the charge went through, while I was still sitting in my truck finishing a gas station coffee, my phone buzzed. Hey, can we talk about something? I've been thinking a lot and I really need to be honest with you. My stomach dropped. The 3 dots bounced for what felt like a week. You are genuinely one of the best people I know. Like seriously top of the list. And I care about you so much, but I think we work better as friends. I don't want to lead you on or make things weird. Our friendship means too much to me. I read it 3 times. Looked at the bank charge notification still on my screen. 68 minutes. I'd spent more time waiting for Gary's quote than she'd spent between, you are saving my life, and, let's just be friends. She'd probably had that message drafted before I even swiped my card, just waiting for the payment to go through before she hit send. Old Paul would have typed a novel, would have laid out every signal, every late-night call, every time she leaned into me and made me feel like something more than a guy with a truck and a tool bag. Instead, I typed, appreciate you being upfront. Good luck at the interview tomorrow. Hit send. Muted her notifications. Sat in that parking lot for another 10 minutes, staring at ice crystals forming on my windshield. Fiona picked the car up that afternoon. Gary texted me when it was done, and I forwarded her the receipt with the big red paid stamp. She sent back a heart emoji. That was it. No mention of the just friends text. No mention of the money. Just a heart emoji for an $1,845 favor. She wanted a friend. Cool. She was about to find out what friendship looks like when the friend stops being useful. I pulled back hard. 1-word replies. Declined every invitation. She texted the day after the interview. I killed it. They basically said I'm their top candidate. I owe this all to you. I waited 4 hours and replied, nice, congrats. She tried again that weekend. Miss you. Want to come over and watch a movie? I'll order food. I typed back, can't. Busy this weekend. I wasn't busy. I was sitting in my apartment eating cereal and watching YouTube videos about small claims court procedures in North Dakota. But she didn't need to know that. A full week of 1-word answers, and she went from warm to confused to slightly irritated. You've been super distant lately. Did I do something? I kept it simple. Nah, just been slammed with work. Then 2 days later, I feel like something changed between us, and I don't know what happened. She knew exactly what happened. She just didn't think there'd be consequences for it. When she texted asking if I could come look at her baseboard heater because it was making a weird sound, I replied, that's a landlord issue. Put in a maintenance request. She left me on red for 2 days. First time in 6 months I'd said no to her about anything. Funny how quick the friendship dried up once the free labor stopped. I picked up a weekend side job calibrating sensors for a food processing plant outside town. The extra cash went straight into rebuilding the fund. Started hitting the gym again 5 days a week. Morning sessions before work. Funny how much free time you have when you're not driving across town at midnight to fix someone's faucet. Joe and I started a Wednesday night routine. Wings and pool at a spot near the warehouse. Normal stuff. The kind of life I'd been putting on hold because I was too busy being someone's free handyman with a crush. About 3 weeks after the friend text, I'm at Walmart picking up groceries. Turning past the cereal aisle, and I almost walked straight into this dude who looked vaguely familiar. He stopped, looked at me. Wait, are you Fiona's friend, Paul? His name was Tyler, Fiona's ex. They'd dated for about 4 months earlier that year, ending right before I met her at the housewarming. We talked for a few minutes, then dropped this. Tyler said Fiona had run the exact same playbook on him. Had him install a ceiling fan, set up a home office, co-sign on a furniture rental agreement. He'd spent close to $1,000 on things she'd asked for. Then one day she told him she wasn't feeling a romantic connection and wanted to be friends. When he pulled back, she told their mutual group he was emotionally unstable and couldn't handle rejection. I didn't figure it out until months later when a buddy showed me texts she'd sent about me, Tyler said. She told people I was obsessive. I lost 2 friendships over it because people believed her. She does this thing where she cries to one person and they tell 3 more, and by the end of the week, you're the villain without ever knowing there was a trial. He wasn't describing a different story. He was describing mine. 6 months ahead of schedule. I gave him my number. He shook my hand and said, "Whatever you do, be careful. She's really good at flipping the story." I walked out of that store with a whole new understanding of who I'd been dealing with. This wasn't some confused girl who didn't know how she felt. This was a system. I sat in my truck in the Walmart parking lot for a solid 10 minutes just staring. She didn't need time. She needed someone to install ceiling fans and pay for clutch replacements and feel just hopeful enough to keep showing up. Tyler had been me. So I went home and saved everything. Every text, every receipt, every screenshot. If she was going to flip the story, I was going to have the truth ready before she finished writing her version. Fiona went on the attack about 4 weeks after the friend text. First, she dropped a message in the group chat. Having one of those weeks where you find out who really has your back and who just disappears when they don't get what they want. Vague enough to seem general, specific enough that everyone knew. I didn't respond. 3 days later, she posted on Instagram. Picture of herself leaning against her Jetta, coffee in hand. Caption, "Rough month but still standing. So grateful for the people who show up when it matters and actually stay. You know who you are. My rock, my savior, real ones." Everyone in our circle knew who paid for that car. This wasn't gratitude. She was getting her version of the story out there before I could. No mention of a loan. No mention of a promise. Just vibes and thankfulness, and a version of events where nobody owed anybody anything. I left one comment. Glad the Jetta's running strong. Still working out that repayment plan for the $1,845 clutch job? No rush, just want to make sure we're on the same page. Within 10 minutes, she deleted the entire post. My phone erupted. Dude, what? Wait, you paid for the car? Is this real? I didn't reply to any of them. Didn't need to. The comment had already been screenshotted by at least 3 people before she could take it down. That's the thing about the internet. 2 days later, 6:15 a.m. I walked out of the gym and found Fiona leaning against my truck in the parking lot. In the dark. In November. In Fargo. Nobody stands outside voluntarily in a North Dakota November, unless they're desperate or losing their mind. She started talking before I could get my keys out. "You need to stop telling people about the car. You're making me look horrible." I told her I'd mentioned it once, on a post where she was basically taking credit for having the car fixed. She tried the "I was just being grateful" angle. I told her she made it public first, and I just added context. Then she pivoted to saying she wasn't paying me back for something I volunteered to do. I leaned against the truck bed. "I have a text where you literally said, word for word, 'I will pay you back every cent I promise.' Want me to read it out loud?" Her face changed. She stepped closer. "You did that because you were trying to buy your way into a relationship. And I'm not going to be punished because you caught feelings. Fiona, I texted you the cost. You agreed. That's a loan. Your feelings about my feelings don't change arithmetic." She dropped the sad act completely. "If you keep pushing this, I'm going to tell people things about you that will make your life really difficult. I mean it, Paul." I opened my truck door, got in, started the engine, and rolled the window down just enough. Make sure they're true, because I'm keeping records of everything, including this conversation. Drove away watching her get smaller in the rear view, hands in her pockets, standing in a gym parking lot at 6:20 in the morning because she thought a face-to-face threat would make me fold. Wrong guy. She came in hard after that. The first move was surgical. She'd taken my text about the cost and needing repayment and cropped it. Removed her reply entirely. The "yes, absolutely, I will pay you back every cent I promise" part was gone. Sliced clean off. What was left made me look like a guy who paid unprompted and then started making financial demands. She circulated it to at least 4 people in our circle. Casey, Kelsey, a girl named Maddie who'd been Fiona's friend for years, and at least one other person I didn't know. My buddy Casey texted me first. "Yo, man, Fiona showed me some texts, and honestly, it looks pretty bad. She said you've been holding the car thing over her head and threatening her about money." I asked him to send me exactly what she showed him. He screenshot it and sent it over. The cropped version. She hadn't just left out her reply. She'd cropped it where her text bubble started. I sent Casey the full unedited screenshot without a single word of commentary, just the image. His reply came 2 minutes later. "Oh, wow, that's not what she showed me." Then, "She's been showing people this version? I'm calling Kelsey right now." By the time it reached the outer edge of our friend group, the version going around was that I'd paid for the car unprompted and was demanding money because Fiona wouldn't date me. That's how far a cropped screenshot travels in 72 hours when someone knows how to aim it. Casey managed to correct the people he reached directly, forwarded the full screenshot to Kelsey and 3 other people that same night. But the damage was already spreading faster than Casey could chase it. Kelsey had already passed along the Paul's being weird about money version to people Casey didn't even know to contact. The cropped screenshot lie died quick with anyone who saw the full version, but the broader narrative Fiona was pushing still had legs in the wider circle. Round 1 was a draw, and Fiona wasn't done, not even close. Next, she called Gary at Knutson's, told him the repair was unauthorized, and she wanted the charge reversed. Said I'd paid without her permission. You don't call a mechanic shop with a rehearsed story about unauthorized payments unless you've thought it through. Gary wasn't buying it. He told me she'd gotten aggressive when he wouldn't cooperate, and that she'd mentioned legal options, which made Gary laugh. I've been doing this for 22 years, he said. I know what a scam smells like. Here's what I didn't realize until later. Fiona knew my routines. Every single one. She knew what gym I went to, what time I went, about the Wednesday wings, even my job sites through mutual connections. I thought these encounters were random. They weren't. Wednesday night, wings and pool with Joe at our usual spot. Mid-conversation, the front door opened and Fiona walked in with 2 girls I'd never seen before. She scanned the room, made eye contact with me, held it for a solid 3 seconds, then walked her group to a table about 12 feet from ours, sat down facing me directly, and started talking, not whispering, projecting, the way you do when you want to be overheard. She was telling them about a guy she'd been dealing with, how he was obsessed with her, how he'd paid for her car to try to buy her, and now he was harassing her about money. She kept glancing at me between details, checking, making sure I was hearing every word, pure performance. One of her friends leaned in and said, loud enough to carry, "That's actually kind of scary. Have you called the police?" And Fiona, without missing a beat, loud enough that the table behind us literally turned around, said, "I'm honestly thinking about it. He's been showing up places and I don't feel safe." I'd been going to that spot every Wednesday for over a month. She knew that. She'd picked this place on this night on purpose. And the showing up places line was pure setup. She'd showed up at my gym parking lot 2 weeks ago. Now she was sitting in my regular spot telling strangers that I was the one following her. She wanted me to react, get loud, get in her face, give her the scene she could describe to a cop later. That's what this was. Bait. And every guy in this subreddit who's ever been falsely accused of anything knows exactly why I had to eat it. I did the opposite. Pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder, pressed record, set it face up on the table between me and Joe, then went back to eating my wings. Didn't look at her, didn't say a word. Just let the recorder run and let her talk herself into whatever hole she was digging. She noticed about 2 minutes later. Mid-sentence, she trailed off. I could see her staring at my phone from my peripheral vision. The energy at her table shifted immediately. One of her friends leaned back in her chair. The other one started looking at the door. Fiona said something quiet I couldn't make out. The 2 girls exchanged a look that said, "We did not sign up for this." They asked for the check before their food even came, paid, and were out the door within 10 minutes of sitting down. The whole performance lasted less than 15 minutes. Fiona walked out last. Didn't look at me on the way out. First time all night. Joe watched them leave. She knew we'd be here. I know. She's building a paper trail, brother. Setting up a story she can use against you. I know that too. I took a sip of my drink and didn't look at her table. That's why I hit record. What I didn't tell Joe was that my hands were shaking under the table. Not from fear. From the realization that this girl was willing to stand up in a public place and call me dangerous just so she wouldn't have to pay me back. That's a whole different level. 3 days after the bar stunt, I pulled into a job site, a warehouse outside West Fargo, and there was a guy I didn't recognize leaning against a truck near the entrance. Big dude, arms crossed, Carhartt jacket. He straightened up when I got out and walked straight toward me. "You Paul? Who's asking?" "I'm a friend of Fiona's. She's been telling me what you've been doing. Following her around, showing up at her apartment, threatening her over money." He stepped closer. "I think you need to leave her alone." I looked at this guy. He was bigger than me by a solid 30 pounds. Genuinely angry, genuinely concerned. And I realized he wasn't the problem. He was just another person Fiona had fed her story to and aimed at me. I didn't argue, didn't explain. Just pulled out my phone, opened the screenshot, and turned the screen toward him. Full text exchange. My message about the cost. Her reply saying she'd pay back every cent. His eyes moved across it line by line. You could literally watch the anger drain out of his face and get replaced by something closer to, "Oh no. She agreed to pay you back?" In writing. I put my phone away. You seem like a decent guy. Don't let her use you to fight battles, she started. He stood there about 10 seconds, then said, "This is really messed up, man. I'm sorry." Got in his truck and left. I saved everything about that encounter. What he said, what he looked like, what time it happened. Added it to the pile. The pile was getting thick. The following week, Joe pulled me aside. Our supervisor, Mike, had gotten a phone call from a woman who didn't give her name. She said she was concerned about aggressive and threatening behavior from one of his field technicians. Described me specifically. Said I'd been showing up at her home uninvited and making financial threats. She was trying to get me fired. A woman who owed me $1,845, who agreed to pay it back in writing, picked up a phone, looked up my company's number, rehearsed a story, and tried to blow up my career. Because I had the nerve to ask for what was mine. Think about that for a second. She didn't just ignore the debt. She tried to take my job so I'd be too worried about my own bills to chase hers. That's not someone who feels bad about a misunderstanding. That's someone who thinks consequences are for other people. Mike called me into his office, closed the door, told me what the caller said, asked what was going on. I laid everything out, dropped it on his desk and let him read through it. Didn't say a word, just let the evidence speak for itself. Mike looked through it, leaned back and said, "So she owes you money and she's trying to get you fired so you stop asking for it." That's the short version. He told me the company wasn't acting on an anonymous call with no evidence. Documented the conversation for my protection. Then he said something I didn't expect. "Paul, I've seen guys come in here with excuses. You came in with a binder. People who are in the wrong don't do that. You're good." He shook my hand. After weeks of everyone looking at me sideways, having my own boss look at the evidence and tell me I was good, man, I needed that more than I realized. That night, I got everything in order. Then I texted Tyler and asked for those screenshots of Fiona running the same thing on him. He sent them within an hour. Same language, same framing, different victim. Sunday night. I sat at my kitchen table, opened the group chat, and typed one message, just facts. "Hey everyone, I know there's been talk going around about me and Fiona, so I want to clear the air. In October, Fiona's car broke down before a job interview. I paid $1,845 for the repairs alone. She agreed in writing to pay me back. Since then, I've gotten cropped screenshots sent around to make me look bad, a stranger sent to confront me at my job, a call to my employer making false accusations, and an attempt to reverse the charge through the mechanic shop. I'm handling it through proper channels. Just didn't want the story to keep getting told without the actual facts." Attach the full, unedited text exchange. Her agreement visible. Then I muted the chat and put my phone in a drawer. Joe filled me in the next morning. The chat went nuclear. People who'd been quietly buying Fiona's version suddenly had the full picture. The employer call detail was what flipped everyone. That crossed a line even the people on the fence couldn't ignore. Casey jumped in unprompted and told the group the texts Fiona had been showing people were cropped. Kelsey, who'd been one of the people spreading the "Paul's being weird about money" line before Casey had corrected her, went quiet for about an hour and then texted Joe, "I feel really gross right now. I didn't realize how bad this actually was. I owe Paul an apology." 2 other guys in the group reached out to Joe privately too. One of them had been the guy who told me a few weeks earlier that I was taking it too far and needed to just let it go. He said he felt like an idiot. Turns out when you only hear one side of the story, you make one-sided judgments. Funny how that works. Fiona didn't respond in the chat. Not one word. Dead quiet. When someone's been running their mouth for weeks and then suddenly has nothing to say the second receipts come out, people notice. You don't have to call someone a liar. The silence does it for you. But she wasn't done with me privately. She texted me 20 minutes after I posted. "I cannot believe you just did that. You humiliated me in front of everyone. That was supposed to be between us." I didn't respond. "You know I'm going through a hard time right now. You know I can't just come up with that kind of money. This is so unfair." Didn't respond to that either. "If you keep pushing this, I'm going to make sure people will see a very different side of you." Screenshotted the whole string. Printed everything the next day. Drafted a demand letter with Joe's help. Joe's uncle is a retired paralegal, so Joe knew the basics. "Here's what you owe. Here's the proof. You've got 30 days to pay, or I'm taking you to court." Sent it certified mail. Return receipt requested. The kind of letter that shows up in a green bordered envelope and makes your stomach drop when you see it in the mailbox. Green card came back signed 6 days later. She'd accepted delivery. The clock started ticking. 2 weeks of silence. Then Maddie called. Fiona's friend. The one she'd sent the cropped screenshot to. And her tone was completely different from anything I'd heard from that side of the fence. "Paul, I need to tell you something. I should have said this sooner." After I'd posted the receipts, Fiona had called Maddie in a full rage, screaming, Not sad crying, angry crying. And during that call, Fiona said, he was never going to be my boyfriend. I just needed him around until I got settled. And now he's ruining everything because he can't take a hint? Maddie had the call on speaker. Her roommate heard every word. But that wasn't all. Maddie had been saving texts from Fiona for weeks because they'd started making her uncomfortable. She read some of them to me. Paul's so easy to manage. You just tell him he's amazing, and he does whatever you want. I knew he'd pay for the car. He's been trying to date me for months. Might as well let him be useful. He's not boyfriend material, but he fixes everything. So why would I say no, lol? Read that last one again. Why would I say no? Like I was a coupon she found in her mailbox? Maddie sent me screenshots of all of it. Then she said, I've known Fiona for 3 years, and I always made excuses for her. But after that phone call and these texts, I can't anymore. She knew what she was doing to you. She told me she knew, and she thought it was funny. She offered to write a statement if I ever needed one. I told her I appreciated it. Most people would have just minded their own business. She didn't. I sat at my kitchen table after that call, and everything clicked. She hadn't been confused about my feelings. She'd been managing them, like a subscription she could cancel whenever she wanted. Every compliment, every late-night text, every time she leaned into me just enough to keep me hooked, all of it was calculated. And the car. That wasn't some confused girl accepting help from a friend. That was a woman who knew a guy was in love with her and decided to cash in the biggest chip on the table before letting him know the game was rigged. The thing that hit me hardest wasn't the money. She'd looked at a guy who drove across Fargo at 5 a.m. because she was crying, who emptied his savings so she wouldn't miss an interview, and her honest assessment was that I was useful. Just useful. 30 days came and went. No payment. Not even a text saying she needed more time. Nothing. Radio silence. Like the letter never existed. Which was fine by me because silence after a demand letter is basically a signed permission slip to file. I filed in small claims. Cass County District Court. $1,845 plus filing fee. Had her served at her apartment on a Tuesday. Date set for early February. In the weeks before the hearing, Fiona went completely quiet. I got my case together, printed everything out, had it all ready to go. Small claims is nothing like TV. No jury, no cross-examinations, no dramatic objections, just a judge in a small room with fluorescent lights and about 15 minutes of your life. I kept it short. Car broke down. I paid. Before I paid, I texted her the amount and said I needed repayment. She agreed in writing, showed the judge the texts, the receipt, my bank statement, the demand letter, the signed return receipt. Laid it all out quick and clean. The judge turned to Fiona. Ma'am, your response? She was dressed up, hair done, like looking good was going to matter more than the receipts. Your Honor, this was a gift. He offered to pay because he was interested in me romantically, and I turned him down and now he's retaliating. The judge picked up the text printout, read it out loud. I can cover it up front, but I need you to pay me back. And you responded, yes, I will pay you back every cent, I promise. He looked at her over his glasses. Where's the gift language here? He was trying to impress me. It was implied, I'm looking at a written agreement to repay. Did you make any payments toward this amount? No, but partial payments? Any documented attempt to arrange a payment plan? No. The judge leaned back, looked at her for a long second, then looked at me, then wrote something down. Whole thing took less than 10 minutes. Ruled in my favor? Full amount, $1,845 plus filing fee, 30 days to pay. She walked out without a word, didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, just grabbed her coat off the back of the chair and went straight for the door like the building was on fire. Joe was on a bench by the door. Well, full amount, plus filing costs. He clapped me on the shoulder. We walked out into the February cold. Sun was actually out for once, which in a Fargo February feels like the universe giving you a nod. My phone buzzed on the way to the truck. Fiona, I hope you're happy. You ruined a friendship over money. I typed back. Yes, 30 days. She paid. Not on time, but she paid. 26 days after the ruling. Bank transfer. Full amount plus costs. No message, no apology. Just the money appearing in my account on a random morning while I was elbow deep in a conveyor motor replacement. Deposited it, rebuilt the tool fund. Saved all the evidence until the judgment fully cleared, then deleted her number, her photos, and every text thread. Clean break. Last I heard, she got the hospitality job in Minneapolis and moved down there. New city, new people, fresh start. Good for her. I hope she finds what she's looking for, and I hope whoever she finds it from keeps his receipts. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.